Sports fans, and welcome back to Formula One, the world's premier motorsport. My name is Victor Simons, former driver for Onyx, and here is my co-host, Markable A. Iyer. Welcome to round 11 at Germany's Hockenheim Ring, which is a circuit famous for its massive straights. It's even more straight than Silverstone a couple races ago, and it's going to be potentially a worse race than Silverstone because there's no rain on the way. Rain is what saved the British Grand Prix this year. We don't have that for this race. Mark, what do you think about that?
That's horrible. The implications are terrifying.
Indeed they are, because while it was very entertaining to see Arrows finally score some points this season, big shout out to Mika Salo, it was also a really bad day for anyone running the Ford engine and a lot of usually front-runner teams like Benetton and Jordan. So these races can feel a little less skill-based when you have these kinds of things happening. Usually you have Minardi up in the front row, and you also have, well, as I said, Jordan and Benetton, but these races completely disrupt the flow of what we expect from Formula One, and not in a way that I consider entertaining or fair.
You don't like that. Markiplier tells you to give up.
Well, I want to say that's a bit of a pessimistic sentiment, but having been in this position myself in an underpowered car, the Onyx used the Cosworth like every other underpowered team, basically. Yeah, you are kind of fucked. I'm sorry. The lower teams, they're just not going to do well today. So I'm guessing this race is going to be very heavily dependent on drafts in terms of race pick. Finally, a practical use of a side shift system. Only I didn't immediately return to his draft. Oh, 190! I don't know if the Minardi's gone this fast before. I don't suppose there's a way to increase the oofage of my engine.
You're now in 7th place.
I do not sense any improvements in the near future. It's mostly a top speed issue. I'm not doing that bad at all, as evidenced by when I had a draft. With the top speed, what's required to get a good lap around here, it necessitates having some kind of buddy draft up, and I don't have that right now. I have no idea what the fuck on track Nakano is. And considering he's also Minardi, that would barely help me. We'd kind of be leapfrogging across each other on the straights. That's a cool camera angle. Why isn't that on the Dreamcast?
You'll be starting 7th from the grid.
I mean, could have been better, should have been better, but we don't have an engine powerful enough to make it better. So, that'll do for now. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the truth, Mark, and nothing but the truth. I can barely hear Tuero. Well, last race at Austria, Minardi's microphones were only coming out of one ear. Now they're extremely quiet. They're in both ears, granted, but it's like the same volume that was in the one ear is now distributed equally between the two ears, and I'm just frustrated. Anyway, it looks like we'll have the top three being Coulthard, Schumacher, and Hakkinen going into the race. Some decent performances here and there, but it's mostly down to who caught the draft, who got lucky and was able to catch a draft, and I think it mostly came down to the strategy of when they caught the draft. Like, Minardi has okay strategy, but it's mostly Tuero doing his own thing. McLaren, Ferrari, those higher up teams have better strategy, so they're able to better utilize their 12 laps.
It's simple logic.
Now let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship. David Coulthard leads with 52 points, followed by Michael Schumacher with 42. But Schumacher could come under threat from Mika Häkkinen, who has 41 points, extremely close to overtaking him. Tuero is stuck in a rut. He hasn't got a lot of points recently. He's in 4th with 38, I believe. And he's not improving. He hasn't got any more points lately. The points start with Pedro Diniz in 16th and only go up from there. Another notable points battle is the battle for 7th between Heinz-Harald Frentzen and defending Eddie Irvine. McLaren currently holds a commanding lead over the Constructors' Championship with 93 points. In 2nd, it's Ferrari with 55. And in 3rd, Minardi holds on with 38 points. But they are under extreme threat from Williams, who has 36 points, and considering the Williams has the Mechachrome engine, which does better on these long straights than the Minardi's Cosworth engine, Minardi could be under some huge threat. Now, Benetton has scored 20-something points, making them the only other team of concern here. As of this point, Tyrrell is the only team not to score a point during this season.
But don't mind that. Whatever you are, whoever you are.
I was dating a champion shot putter.
And he's going to stab me. With the cold
Curtains.
Mark, what? What does this have to do with Tyrrell? Mark? Is everything okay in your home life?
Yeah?
Now here we are all ready to start the German Grand Prix. Cars all lined up, and once again the DJ's being annoying because of the stupid timing of the music. There it is! There's the music. And now it's time for the lights. Are you ready, Mark?
Huh? Oh boy.
I'll take that as a no. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1!
turn off.
We can't hear anything Turo is saying. That means we have free reign over this race. We have dominance over the drivers and their radio messages. Let's go into turn 1. Very smooth. We have lines in during practice. Turo just whips by 2 cars very effortlessly. Great move. But now we have begun the drafting. The draft trains that will dominate the majority of the race. Let's go.
Taking the lead.
Well, not first for Minardi. First for me with Minardi, but
Irvine,
shut up.
2 seconds ahead. Frentzen, only a second behind.
And I'm in the grass. Bodes ill. I think just like at Catalunya, I'm going to benefit very much from the few places I can go flat out in. Now here comes the Williams going to dive bomb, blocking Turo, forcing him to kind of use the exit road. That's a bit of an impact there. I think the Williams will be at fault for that. Truly help me. Williams going a little bit too deep, giving Turo the perfect opportunity to take revenge. Okay, managed to get caught in the draft in the next car. Exciting
Irvine,
development.
only a second ahead.
That is Irvine in
Frentzen,
Ferrari.
only a second behind.
Shit. Why did my car skid?
You're in 7th position now.
Alright, Frentzen, you better have a good draft prepared for me. Back at 200. Williams once again suffering from a deep end, but some fantastic defense from Heinz-Harald Frentzen keeps Turo back in 7th where he started. As we've seen previously, does not deal well with stress. Usually we're starting to have pressure issues by the time the race ends. And there we go, that's that brilliant racing line. The Minardi may be much slower than the Williams, but Turo's mastery of how it works makes it a much more masterful racing machine in his control. God, that draft goes a long way back. But here I think we see one of the fundamental problems of Formula 1. Here is the Williams, much faster than the Minardi, even without the draft. The Minardi has to fight to remain in its draft or another car's draft in order to fight the Williams. Otherwise it's completely impossible. That's the thing about this race. Tuero is probably the only Cosworth car that is not suffering at the moment, and that's because he is able to stay neatly in a draft using some clever maneuvers to reach more technical sections of the track like Sector 3, but other cars using the Cosworth, they are really struggling. They're in the bottom 10 mostly at the moment. Now we're coming up onto lap 3. Mark, are you ready to open your goddamn mouths and say some Formula 1 shit?
It's not my job.
What do you mean it's not your job? It's what you get paid for, isn't it? If this is not your job, Mark, what is your job? I say, I just sponsor a battles of Ferrari and gets past him.
I can rub your shoulders.
Don't let me, Mark, you aren't a licensed masseuse. And the number 23 Minardi Ford is not fast enough to keep the Ferrari at bay either.
No, it's the companies that are wrong.
I have 12 mannequins.
I'm sorry, how does having 12 mannequins qualify you to be a masseuse?
I'm gonna sue you out of existence.
Well, it's not defamation if I'm right. Draft surfing. Just keep in line, keep it moving. 180 miles per hour, maybe 200, maybe more. You just gotta get your foot in the door. We're moving to the point with draft surfing.
The best is kicking in.
Dear God, Tuero's gotten so bored with the drafting trains that he's resorting to songwriting to keep himself entertained. But that may not be the case for long because the Ferrari is coming up alongside him, definitely going to keep around his area. But Tuero has entered the points. He's in 5th place currently. And what is that? Oh my God, the Ferrari is pulling and David Coulter and Catalunya on Tuero. What? Tuero defends a little bit. He loses position, but he is not spun out into a gravel trap like Catalunya, which is one thing to be grateful about, but otherwise, this kind of thing should not be happening. That is bad sportsmanship right there. One cause. That kind of multitasking takes you right far. Nothing can stand in your way if this is the game you choose to play. And faster. We are draft surfing blasters. Is cutting over curves and making dares. Perhaps it's not so fair. Draft surfing, high speed, 190 or more. That's your goal. Looks like Tuero's plan here, going around the outside. Oh, but that is collision with Eddie Irvine. I don't know whether that was intentional or not. Normally I would assume it wouldn't be, but given what we saw earlier, what Eddie Irvine did only a couple laps ago to Tuero, I would actually assume that to be intentional from Irvine. Gods before me and my children after me. The power of Nitro Charles likes gently force cousin to lock up in the woods, similar to what happened to the Benetton in Catalunya. Also, Tuero's singing is starting to annoy the shit out of me. Can someone please shut him up?
What is wrong with you?
Mark, if I have to hear this for the rest of the race, I'm gonna start singing about draft surfing too. Do you want that?
That's just not okay.
Fishtail is just ahead. Sprint is only a second behind.
Are we draft surfing again? Oh, that looks good. A little repeat of the line he used to pass Frentzen earlier in the race, and there it goes, succeeding again. And making this even more of a repeat of earlier in the race, there goes Fisichella completely disregarding Tuero. That looks like a Ferrari? That's too wide into the gravel, and there is a Williams. But only shortly. Look at that tight inside line, and what immediately into defending position. That is the kind of good moves that race drivers never make consciously. It's always subconsciously where you move into the correct position. They aren't thinking about that when they do that. They just will the instincts and remember sort of subconsciously that is the right thing to do. A bit how you learn to always use your turn signal, unless of course you want to be BMW. Now actually for the first time in this race, I've interrupted Turo saying something very interesting about the race strategy, so I want to stop talking for a minute and give you a replay of what his radio message to the pit wall was. Green flag is out, we're back to racing, and Turo may be able to take advantage of Fisichella's fatigue, and there he goes, taking 6th. That means no points, but they've been battling for quite a while now. That must mean something to Turo. Now, the problem is we've seen Turo overtake him before, and we're going to observe Fisichella retake that 7th position. It's basically the curse that's been going on, not just in the straightaway, but for Turo in general, with the weaker Cosmos engine. But there he goes, immediately retaking the 6th with some clever maneuvering. That is the best he's taken that chicane for the entire race. Something definitely to commend him on.
Airplane, only a second ahead. Fisichella is only a second behind.
I'd love to keep racing, but I have only 14 laps of fuel. I am going to run out in a few, so... as much as I'd like to keep this going, I must retreat into the pit lane.
You're in 20th position now.
Some ubiquitous phrase of power, you know?
Verstappen's just ahead. Verstappen's only a second behind.
There we are. Now Turo is making his way back up the grid, but I have concerns as does everyone else that he may not be able to make it back up to first place. That is going to be a huge issue for fans of the sport, for the Minardi team, for Turo, everyone involved except for maybe McLaren. They were kind of counting on that. I don't know how he's keeping up with truck and trailer with a side shift.
Takahashi just ahead.
Now I'm actually able to somewhat
Verstappen's 2
appreciate
seconds back.
the usage of the side shift system. That went so poorly. I can't even begin to describe that. Also witnessed that. Which did not look like it. Ah, shit. What
just
I can't
happened?
What?
Can't see shit.
Get a flashlight.
So what I don't want to do is turn on strobe 100 lumen mode.
Ow!
Oh my
That's
God.
me! God, thank you. Oh. The fucking power's out. Oh. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary Zoomers, whoever may be watching this broadcast, we seem to have lost all visual feed, and the audio feed from our commentary box is the only thing that seems to remain of this broadcast. We will attempt to continue bringing you the best coverage of Formula 1 possible. You may treat this as sort of a radio broadcast, but right now the Hockenheimring is almost completely disabled by what appears to have been some kind of power surge. We don't know when this will be fixed, but until then, we will continue to try and provide the best coverage possible, as nothing really changes on track. What? Oh, we're back over here! We're back over here! Oh, Oh shit, it's still fucked up. Oh,
But
damn
I'm
it.
still smiling.
That doesn't matter. Turo did not finish in 13th. I don't know why that is saying that. He actually finished in, like, 16th. That should not say 13th.
This is a trick.
Well, now that we've gotten to the race summary, I think the best way to describe what we just witnessed was automotive misery. Now, we've had drafting trains to that degree before in Catalonia, but here's the thing. In Catalonia, the beginning of the race was very chaotic. There was a lot of things happening. It was only after you hit the halfway point when the drafting trains started to form. Then, even with the drafting trains, you had Turo being the only car who went on a strategy that involved a pit stop, and he went up and was fighting for points, intimidating the higher-up drivers, causing all these racing things to happen. The kinds of things you want to see in a motorsport race, the kinds of things you want to see in Formula 1. We got almost none of that today. There's barely any movement in the field, most of which came from the midfielders, from Turo, from Fisichella, and from the Williamses. Other than that, it was all drafting trains all the time, barely any movement or racing occurring. Despite this, the results still surprise me. First of all, Heinz Rollfrentzen of the Williams managed to make a stopping strategy, or whatever he did. He did something to end up in first, followed by Michael Schumacher in second, and Mika Hakkinen in third. Championship leader David Coulthard finished only 5th, which is very unusual for him, but regardless, very odd results. Now, the other thing I'd like to point out is that Turo's final position, 19th, 7 laps back, is not correct. He did finish the race, but some of the results of the lower finishers are scrambled. He finished in 16th, and basically every ranking around there is generally incorrect from 10th downward. So, Takagi did better than usual. That is good for him, but for the most part, that's wrong. Now, we really didn't see any major movement in the Drivers' Championship today. Heinz Rollfrentzen did pass Giancarlo Fisichella and move into 6th, but other than that, no one else really moved position in the Drivers' Championship. And it's pretty much the same story for the Constructors as well, with the only major thing happening is Williams has finally passed Minardi. It's been a long time coming for that, unfortunately, but it's finally happened, and no one is surprised by that. McLaren now teeters on the edge of 100 points. All in all, at this point, I think we're all just a bit tired of these high-speed tracks. They have been generating horrible racing for this past season. So thank God that next time we'll be at the Hungaroring for round 12, a very technical track that should give the advantage back to some of our slower cars.
My name is Markiplier.
And I'm Victor Simons. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Formula 1 coverage on YouTube is presented exclusively by Oricon. Breaking news! Recently, the television show Wormhole Extreme, which first debuted last year in 1997, has been accused of being a government propaganda tool to cover up the existence of a real extreme wormhole underneath Cheyenne Mountain. Wormhole Extreme follows the military expedition team WX-1, where they go through the extreme wormhole to discover new planets and fight the evil Doa-Ulg, alien parasites that plant themselves inside people's minds and rule the galaxy. But how does this cheesy sci-fi goodness equate to a government conspiracy? Well, conspiracy theorists say it's plausible deniability. Since the show exists, if someone ever comes forth with evidence of the government possessing a real wormhole, they can just say that this person watched a bit too much Wormhole Extreme. Now, this theory doesn't hold that much water, partially because long before MKUltra became public, The Manchurian Candidate was, in fact, a popular book and eventually movie that explored the idea of sleeper agents, which MKUltra was in many cases trying to create. Now, Manchurian Candidate's existence did not help the government cover up MKUltra in any way, nor did it hinder it. It just existed. Now, it's not the conspiracy itself that concerns anyone. It's a very silly theory, and if the government was hiding a wormhole underneath Cheyenne Mountain, Wormhole Extreme makes a pretty good case for covering it up. What is actually alarming is it shows how the internet can allow some people to spread misinformation very quickly, which may become a problem in the coming century, in the 2000s, as internet access becomes more prevalent. Because this theory mostly spread through the internet, it provides an interesting precedent of how misinformation could spread in the future. So, while yes, this is a silly anecdote to start on, this will be a story on the future of the spread of misinformation. Stay tuned for the full story.